everybody. This is Keisha Whitaker with the Succeeding Over All Roadblocks Lifecast, or the SOAR Lifecast. I am so excited to present the season finale of the SOAR Lifecast. And with me today, I have an amazing group of ladies from my sister circle. I am so honored and thrilled to have them with me to cap this off. We decided to do something a little different in terms of having doing it in a video format. And so we just wanted to bring this to you. I want you to just see me and my sisters live and in action with our virtual happy hour. So let's get it started. I'd like to introduce you to my beautiful sister circle, and I will let Joy introduce herself. Come on in, Joy.
Hi, my name is Joy Turner. I am a 38-year-old living here in Memphis. I'm a hospital administrator. I'm also the founder of Brown Girl Dreams and What's the Tea? So I'll hand it over to Tiffany.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Futch. I'm 39 years old, and I am a talent strategist here for a banking institution in Memphis. I'll turn it over to Tanisha.
Hello. I'm Keisha Williams, hailing from Houston, Texas, by way of Nashville, Tennessee, and I am the tender age of 40, and I am a former educator, now corporate trainer, and I will turn it over to Dr. Sonia.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sonia Johnson. I'm in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm 41 years old. I'm an administrator in the educational system here. I'm an author, and I do a lot of community service. I'm turning it back to Keisha.
Thank you, ladies. And I am Keisha Whitaker. I am a 42-year-old. I'm the elder of this group. And I am a entrepreneur. I'm the owner of K. Whitaker Public Relations, been in PR for a very long time, and also now the host of my very own podcast. So we're excited to show our happy hour. We are ready to toast it up, ladies, to the season finale. And let's get into it. So what's been going on with you ladies? How has things been? Like, just want to do a check-in. How have you been getting through the pandemic? I'll start with Joy.
Everything is great. I've been rocking and rolling in the pandemic. I've lost 34 pounds, taking care of myself, and just doing great things. Got a promotion. So 2020 has been great to me outside of the pandemic.
All right, Dr. Sonia, how are things with you?
You don't laugh at me. Well, I've been telling people I have not been peopling. So I basically just been dealing with my family, dealing with my health, and I've been making improvements with my health. So that's the accomplishment. I've been really getting connected to myself spiritually and just taking it day by day.
Okay. Lady Tanisha?
Okay. Well, 2020 has indeed been the year of change and growth for me. I did leave the classroom after 15 years. And so I have been embracing that challenge, and it is a challenge indeed. But the way I look at it is change and challenge are the two constants in this lifetime. So as long as I'm being challenged and I'm changing, I'm growing.
Okay. Miss Tiffany.
Well, as much as people probably don't want to hear this, but a pandemic is an introvert's dream. Like, I have enjoyed all of the time being able to say, girl, we still in this pandemic. No, I can't come to your anything. But it's just one of those things. So I've enjoyed it. I'll be honest. Like, I have been very productive. Like, I started off the year kind of feeling like I was playing catch up, but I've gotten to do so much, and having this new kind of like space of not having to be everywhere all the time, I've gotten to do so much more, especially in the field of doing some business consulting with friends. And so it's been fun to watch other people really take their dreams and really like take this, launch pad. And so I'm all here for it. I want us to have a vaccine, but I've enjoyed most of it.
Well, as y'all know, I've been, it was a very stressful time for me, but it just was compounded by the pandemic and the loss and all that stuff. But this year has really been a time of growth, a time of just revelation for me. And so I'm just grateful for it. And I wouldn't have had this podcast had I not really stepped out there on faith and tried this. So I'm just thankful for it. And what is something new and interesting that you all have tried? Tanisha.
Well, for me, what's the newest? Oh goodness. I would say I probably not necessarily new, but got back into hiking more. And I didn't get to do a lot of hiking, but I did up my mileage a little bit. So my goal for next hiking season is to increase my mileage. And I know a ton, and it really sucks. So I'm hoping to get back into a studio.
Okay. All right. Tiffany, what is something new that you've learned or tried?
Well, I think if you've known me any length of time, you know I'm a night owl who rises early. But I have been sleeping, y'all. Like, I have been going to bed early. When my phone goes on to do not disturb at 10, it's probably 10:05, and I am knocked out. And I sleep all the way until 7:30. And it has been great. I don't know if this is like a new sport that I'm trying to do, but sleep has really been it for me.
Oh, yes, Lord. Sleep is a beautiful thing, a beautiful thing. Dr. Sonia, what is something new that you're trying during the pandemic?
Well, I won't say new, but I've been doing more cooking. I've been experimenting with different recipes, remixing different recipes, have my own weekly quarantine cuisine that I've been doing. So that's something I've been doing a lot more of.
Yeah, you've been cooking it up because you posted on. I'm like, can I get a plate? Like, what's up? Like, you're not people, and we can't get down this good food. But Joy, what are you trying out that's new?
So I just bought a spin bike.
Oh, nice.
I realized that I actually love spin. So I stepped out and got me a spin bike, and I'm about to hit the ground running with that. So we'll see how it turns out.
Okay, nice. And then my last question, as we just try to catch up, because this time of year is we're going into the holidays. We've dealt with the pandemic, and so self-care is just so important for all of us. Let's go around and talk about just self-care. Like for me, I feel like self-care is something that I have not done enough of, and I think of self-care differently. It's like what you put into your body, what you think about, what you take in every day around you. And so I'm really focusing on eating better and just taking care of my body and exercising more, but more importantly, working on the mental piece, because I think that's what works. That's what gets everything going. So what are you all doing to just have like a little self-care for yourselves? Dr. Sonia?
I've been working out a lot more, walking, doing Zumba online. I've been kind of eating healthier because I'm trying not to eat out, which is pandemic has helped it because I don't want everybody touching my food. Basically just kind of getting in a better mental space, because I can see where I wasn't in a good space before the pandemic, and people laugh like this has actually been a good thing for me. I hate everything that's going on, but mentally, physically, I was not in a good space before this. So this has really helped me to get more in tune with myself since we've been in.
Okay. Tiffany, what about you?
Well, I have tried to slow down a little bit. And so I don't go for as many runs as I used to. I think I started the pandemic off like, I'm going to get all these miles in. But lately, I've been doing my infamous wine walks. And so I pour me a glass of wine, and I take me a stroll through my neighborhood. And I enjoy it. Like, I listen to books. I listen to podcasts. I call people. And it's just a nice way to really slow the day down and really have some time to reflect.
Okay. What about you, Joy?
So I've kind of brought Tiffany into my COVID bubble and we've become walking friends. So I basically walk just about every day. So I walk more, definitely eat better. Like I say, I've lost 34 pounds, and I've been reading, and Tiffany has put me on to the Libby app. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks and stuff now. So just, taking the time for myself, because I tell people all the time, I'm an introverted extrovert. Okay. I like to be out and about and have fun, but I really enjoy my time to myself. So.
All right. Tanisha, what about you?
Okay, well, I'm all the way extrovert. So the pandemic was a huge challenge for me. But I would tell you this, for some reason, I enjoy sitting on my sofa now. I look forward to my evenings when I can come home or when I work from home and I can sit on my sofa. And it's like, wow, how did I take this for granted? Just sitting on my sofa. If it's a cup of tea, a glass of wine, sitting on my sofa, watching BET Her. I mean, it's like, wow, this is like a Friday night dream for me. And you all know me. That was not in my wheelhouse of tricks at all. Sitting at home, period. I had to be out doing something. But now I'm like, man, I'm about to go home and sit on my sofa. And then, like I said, the days that I work from home, when I shut down the office, I'm like, I just transitioned to my sofa and I am good. And I mean, I cook anyway, but I do cook more. And then self-care, reading, to me, that is, I don't know, it all happens on my sofa now. It's like my sofa is my happy place for some reason now, outside of hiking, yoga, chatting with friends. The sofa is the happy place, and I'm okay with that. So that's where I am now.
Yeah, I think the pandemic really gave us an opportunity to just stop and slow down. The world was just moving so fast. And I think the earth said it's time to reset too. So I think we just had a great opportunity to slow down, take stock of what's really important to us, realize that we have to strike while the iron is hot, because there was a lot of things that I had planned and that were in play that I wanted to do. And then when the pandemic hit, I was like, man, I wish I had done that, because now I can't do it. So yeah, it's really taught me to strike while the iron is hot. Like, don't wait. If it's something on your heart, if it's something you want to do, just get out and do it. So if nothing else, I've learned a tremendous lesson from this pandemic. And I was already social distancing before it became a thing. So I didn't like people getting close to me in line and stuff. I was like, oh, y'all too close. Like, I put my elbow out, like, y'all need to step back. So yeah, so this is an episode where we're just straight up sipping, talking. This is our usual. This is what we do. We have virtual happy hours all the time. And so I just wanted to bring you all in so people could see my friends, see what we do, and talk about the real things that we talk about. We're women that are in our late 30s and early 40s. And the unique thing about all of us is that we don't have kids and we're all single. And so I wanted to do an episode that really delves into our different perspectives on that. So we're going to talk about dating. We're going to talk about just things that are going on in the world, whether it's, Kamala getting elected, debunking stereotypes of Black women, some of the things that we deal with and struggle with, whether it's in the workplace or just in general. And then lastly, the issue of kids, like where do we all stand on that? And how is society looking at us because we're single and women of a certain age without kids. So I want to jump into the first topic, which we all love to talk about when we do our happy hours, and that is dating. Y'all can unmute so I can hear y'all laugh.
Don't do that.
Or the lack of. I mean, who's dating in this pandemic? How are y'all doing this?
Wait a minute. Let me sip on that.
Exactly.
I've been on a date or two since the pandemic, but they were outside picnic dates.
Exactly. And the pandemic really has changed the game in terms of dating, in my opinion, because it's made us slow down in turn. We can't just be all up. You don't know who this person's been around and what's going on. So we just try to be careful. And it also shows you the beauty in the simple things, going for a walk, having lunch in the park and stuff like that. So those are some of the things that I think people can do. But what I wanted to start off with was like, we're like what's I guess considered zennials, like kind of Generation X, but also millennial. We're kind of like on the cusp of that.
We're a mix of things.
Yeah. And I was thinking to myself, like, okay, we know what life was like before internet and after internet. So we caught that wave. And so I was like, how is dating now? Like, I can't do text messages. I just don't like sitting there texting conversations. Like, I'm like, if we texting more than 2 or 3 times each other, like, that's a full conversation. Like, I need to pick up the phone. I can't. Texting to me is strictly for like directions. I'm on my way, or, stuff like that. What do you guys think?
I'm just the opposite. I will have an entire conversation.
Really?
Oh, yes.
I like both.
I mean, I've been called out on it so many times. I'm like, okay, hold on. I'm like, this person want me to pick up the phone. Jesus. Like they too much. They want too much.
Oh. What about you, Tiffany?
I like to hear your voice. Like, I'll be honest. Sometimes my days can get a little hectic, right? Like, I may have a lot of calls, or I may have a lot of meetings, but like, you can text me and say, like, how are things going? But at some point in the day, give me a call. Like, even if we got a busy day, I just decided I was going to give you a call while I was getting ready to see what you were up to today. That would be great. Or even at the end of the day, I know sometimes you just can't make it happen and you don't want to interrupt them. But I like hearing your voice. I want to hear like your excitement about what happened. I want to hear like if you had a rough time, I want to be able to connect with you in a way that makes it feel authentic, because I can't always read you in a text message.
Valid, very valid.
For me, I like to hear your voice too, but it depends on if like you say, if I'm busy or something. If I'm busy and you text me, I'll say, hey, thanks for texting me. It's a busy day. I'll call you later. But I definitely like to have a phone conversation, and it be like a good conversation. I don't like to just hold the phone, because then we have nothing to talk about. So it just all depends on the situation. But I'm like you, Keisha. After about 4 or 5 text messages, just give me a call. I would rather hear your voice.
And see, I'm the type of person, I love to talk. Y'all might not know that about me because I come off quiet, but I talk. So texting me is just a quick check-in, but at the end of the day, I need some hours. I need to know. You need to tell me, explain to me, let me feel your day. I need to know what's going on. So, yeah.
Okay. Now, me, the thing I hate the most is the good morning text. I cannot stand that. Like,
why?
I'm like, I'm busy in the morning. I'm trying to get up. I'm trying to get dressed. Like, I don't have time to stop and text. Like, I don't like it.
Sure. I think it's a sweet gesture. I mean, they're thinking of you I guess when they wake up or at some point in the morning. I think it's sweet. Now, I probably don't respond until an hour or two later, but
right. Maybe it's because the people that text me, I don't really want to hear from them.
Okay. Well, it has nothing to do with the good morning text. It's just where it's coming from.
It's a feature called block.
Okay. Oh no, not the call block.
Yes. Call block.
No,
yes.
I try to be, I try to give people a chance. That's all I like to say. I just try to.
It has to be genuine, right? Like, I think there are some people that, like, when they come out of left field, that you are one of like 16 good morning texts, right? Like, you're like, boy, you didn't mean to really text me. Like, you just want to see who's gonna respond back.
Right. You got to put my name in the text so I know it's just for me.
A mail merge. Little sister think it was just for me, But I think it just depends. There are some people, like, they may know, especially when I had gone back to school, they knew that I was up late. And so just to get that morning text that said, like, how far did you get on your paper? I can't wait to hear how class was. Like, those kind of things, as long as it's got some substance, right? Like, because you can have a little bit of a conversation, but not just a good morning, no punctuation, no capitalization, nothing. You're like, okay, all right. Well, I'll respond to that when I decide it's okay.
Yeah, an hour or two later, whenever I think about it. But
okay, so how long should you like? Is it okay to text several hours later, like to text back, or is it just like, keep it moving?
It's okay. Because they don't know what you're doing. I mean, the same way you shoot off the good morning text, they don't know what you're doing. Like you said, you're busy in the morning. So when you have some free time to respond, just respond back and say, hey, good morning or good afternoon. I was busy this morning when you text. Nice to hear from you. It doesn't matter what time it is.
And life has not been too kind to my memory. And it'll hit me. And I'm like, oh, I need to respond to that person.
Right. That happens to me all the time. I see a text and I'm like, oh, I'll get back to that. And I never do. So then they think I'm rude. So, I mean, it is what it is. So did somebody have something to add?
No.
Okay. So let's talk about, because I don't do it and I can't do it, but dating apps. I know y'all I've tried them. It doesn't work for me. I meet some bad-ish crazy people on there. I can't do it. I mean, Hinge, Match, Bumble, Plenty of Fish, Coffee Meets Bagel. I mean, what have you all tried and how has it worked out for you? I'll start with Miss Tanisha.
Okay. Well, my most recent experience, which I just deleted the app this week. It was Hinge. And this was the first dating app I tried in, I think, over 2 years. And met a couple of interesting people. And the first guy, I mean, it was dreamy. I was like, okay, then this might be a winner. And lo and behold, he turned out to be a nut job. And I think he met someone that's going to jump in that ocean with him. Because, and I want you all tell me this if I'm wrong. We talked for about 2 weeks and then we met for the first time. And then that night he was like, well, I think we should pause our accounts. And that's like, dude, this is the first date. And so my suggestion was, let's continue this for 45 days. And after 45 days, if things are progressive, then we will pause the accounts. And then after 90 days, we'll delete them. Okay. I guess he didn't like that because he wanted, like right there, he's like, okay, we're going to pause the accounts. And I'm like, well, no, that's not how it works in the real world. And it's not to say that I wanted to just keep exploring my options, but you don't just buy the car at first sight. Drive it a little bit and see if it fits you. And, and I guess he didn't like that. And I think what I learned in that moment is that men at a certain age, I think they just want to be married, because he was literally talking about marriage on the first date too. So I think they hit a point. It's like, okay, I'm ready for this. This is what I want to do. Let's go ahead and make this happen. And it's like, well, how do you know that I'm the one you're married? Because it sounds like you just want to be married, not married to me. And you don't know me to want to be married to me. So that was a scary experience in itself. And then on my account, of course, you all have seen my picture of the retired hot girl. And that just totally went left. But yes. Yeah. So I'm done with dating apps for the moment.
So I've had some good and bad experiences. I've used them. I've used Match, Hinge, Bumble, whatever, swipe, something, whatever. So one successful time, my ex-fiance was actually from Match. So we dated for 3 years. So that was a good thing. But it's been hit or miss. Like, pandemic has been okay with dating. But I kind of, you don't really want to be around anybody. You don't trust them. I don't know where you've been. None of that. So like I say, I've been on a couple of dates from like outdoor picnic dates, or we might go for a walk or whatever, but it's been okay. I would much rather meet somebody organically. I haven't used the apps in a couple of months, so, you know, whatever.
Yeah. What about you, Sonia?
I've used a lot of the apps in the past, but I'm crazy because as soon as they say something to me in my mind, I think they're like a serial killer and I delete it. So I don't usually go that far with it. But I recently tried Facebook dating, and y'all remember that story. So we're not going to air it right here. So needless to say, I'm staying away from apps because people's representatives definitely come out within 3 months. So I'm like, Joy, I want to meet somebody organically, but no.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Tiff?
I'm there with the organic, like meeting people, right? I have tried a couple. I think for me, what ends up happening is that we've crossed paths before, right? And yeah, anybody that knows me knows that you think you may see me out, but I'm not really out. Like I'm a ghost. Like I pop in and I pop out. And so people are like, that I just remember you from like a random event whenever. And for me, like I don't really mind them. I think the only bone I have to pick with men out here is that they don't even try, right? Like their pictures, like their selfies, like the phone is like right here. So I'm like, I don't want to see like 12 pictures of your nostrils. They don't even like complete the thing. And it's just like, or they're like, oh, I'm 6 feet tall. Okay, great. That's amazing. But however, what are we going to talk about? And so sometimes I feel like they're on there just to finally get somebody to talk to, but I don't think much will probably happen for me on them. And so I just kind of go on there and see what's out there. And I'm like, all right, same dumpster fire as last time. And then I'm like, all right, bye, y'all.
Yes, don't include the body pics. Those body pics at the gym, I hate those. It's like
Nobody
every profile has a body pic at the gym. Okay, we get it. You work out.
I think it's different for them. It's like what they think we're interested in, we're probably not as interested in. Yeah, we want somebody with their body that's, you know, on point or whatever. But I get people just flat out lying about their age, it's like, why do you need to feel the need to lie about your age? It's like, I can't. That automatically X's you out because now I'm questioning your character. So yeah, it's not for me. Tanisha said that happened to her last week. So
and like I've heard some interesting experiences for men on the other side, right? Like what they run into. And I'm not trying to say like we're really come with our A games, ladies, because I've heard where a man really will like connect with someone and then he asks her out on a date and she'll say, well, instead of taking me out on a date, will you just pay my light bill? And I'm like, oh, is that an option?
Who's doing that?
And I wouldn't even want you to pay my light bill, but I get it. Like I kind of get from them because maybe they're thinking, well, these ladies aren't putting in the effort, so why should I? And so I was like, so now we all on here just victims of other victims, y'all. We got to get it together. So I think they probably run into the same thing, and so they're like, I'm not gonna even worry about it.
I'm more concerned about like, okay, are these the leftover people? I hate to say it like that, but I mean, I'm keeping it real. So.
Wow.
I'm just keeping it real. I'm like, is this all that's left for us to choose from? But I get it. To your point, Tiffany, it goes both ways. The quality is lacking on both sides, I think. So, and
I don't think it's all that's left. I think that, like, if you think what we probably will end up talking about eventually, but we're so career focused sometimes that when you're I hate to say grinding because I feel like that gets a bad connotation, but when you're working at being excellent at what you do, sometimes you don't even realize that like you're not in a relationship because you have so many life-giving relationships around you anyway. And so, and something that people don't realize is that a relationship could sometimes feel like an additional responsibility. And if you don't have the space for it in your life at that time, you just don't. And so it's one of those things where I think that because we're not all out, everybody's like, okay, nose to the ground. Let's see what we can get going.
Well, dating is hard no matter what. And I think because people are moving to, pandemic has not helped in terms of being able to meet people, new people, but it's, I don't know, it's tough all around at this stage in the game, because what you find is people who are coming off of divorces, or they're coming, their second and third go rounds and stuff like that. So it's just tough out here.
Well, and then I run into the guy where, you've dated for a while. Like I had a friend that dated one of my friends for off and on for like 5 years. But then the next year later, you went and got somebody that was 5 years younger than her. So you pass us by, and I'm the girl that's been with you for all the years, but then you go get a young girl because you want to have kids and everything else. Well, we have those same things going on too. Like we may want kids or whatever, but you went and got a younger woman. Mm-hmm. So then who's left for us?
Yeah. Well, I like them older, so.
I know.
Everybody love a good silver fight.
Well, yeah, we're gonna move on. Enough about dating, honey. We can talk about that all day. But Tiffany kind of alluded to some of the things that we as Black women have challenges with, and just debunking some of the myths, because every single one of us, we're educated. We, have had great careers and are continuing to grow in our careers. And we're not just so focused on our careers that we're not open to a healthy, loving relationship. So first, I want to talk about some of the stereotypes. Like, what are the stereotypes that you guys hear a lot or that really bother you? I'll start with Sonia.
Stereotype that I've run into a lot personally, that a lot of people don't want to work for Black women. They see Black women as being a certain type. I don't want to see the word that they usually call us, but it's not pleasant, and they feel like it's come off that we have to be some mean person or some kind of way or vindictive to try to get what we need to get, where a male can do something and they just ask politely, like, oh yes, whatever. And that's the stereotype that we get. And that, like, I'm not a mean person, but for me to get things that I need to get done, it comes off that I need to be, and that's not who I am. So that's a stereotype that I've run into a lot. And I've even had people tell me I can never work for a woman, especially a Black woman. Like, I can never have a woman principal. I can never have a woman manager. And that's the sad thing that I have to run into with me trying to get advancement, because people's like, I don't think I want to work for a woman.
Okay. Joy, did you want to chime in on that?
I do. And I agree with Sonia about the people not wanting to report to a Black woman, and particularly a younger Black woman, because I am the youngest Black woman in administration for my department. And I've heard the things that they say or whatever, but it also is that kind of strong, angry Black woman kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Because when I speak up and I'm assertive about something, it becomes oh well, we didn't know you felt that way, or oh well, I didn't. And it's like, no, I'm making a point. I'm being assertive about my point. I'm not angry. I'm not upset. But this is what needs to be done or whatever. But I'm not, But it becomes like, oh my God, let me, And I'm not that, it's like, I'm not angry. So I need you to understand between the difference of me being assertive and me actually being angry, because it's a totally different ball game at that point. So.
Right. Tiffany?
So I think we all saw this during the vice presidential debates, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we all sat there and watched Kamala do all of that mental gymnastics, trying to control her facial expression, trying to control the way she sat, waiting for him to finish, and then having to say, I'm speaking. But we still can't say I'm speaking at work, right? And I think what gets tricky is that you're fine as long as you want to make all of these lateral moves in your career, or you're fine as long as you want to stay in a support role. But the minute that you try to advance upward, that's when you start to really have more of that resistance. And I think that more often than not, we don't realize that that comes from things that were ingrained in us as children, how women should be in these support roles, how women should not want to be at the top and lead. But you can have that desire, and women can lead just as effectively as men. Like, look at these other countries with women presidents, and we see how they have managed even COVID. And so it's like, so you can't tell me that I can't run this department that's isolated to this space, or I can't run this project that's isolated to this space when we know that women have been running things for so long. And I think just the extra layer of being a Black woman of how are people going to accept me? I see it all the time in various places where even like the way that we dress, we're policed in so many ways. Like, I remember when it was revolutionary to actually want to wear my hair curly because that's how it comes out of my scalp. And that was a big deal. Like, remember pre-Obama when we were fighting to do that? Mm-hmm. Then also like the things that we wear, like how we can't have certain things. And what I love is that I feel like I'm in an organization where not only the women really take charge, but Black women say, hey, sis, welcome to the organization. Join the sisterhood. Whatever you need, let me know. And I think that it's so important for us to do that no matter where we are, so that the younger ladies that enter the workforce don't feel like they still have to fight the same things we've been fighting for all these years.
Yeah. What about you, Tanisha?
Well, funny thing is, this conversation is coming off of a conversation I had with coworkers yesterday, because they said to me that they want to get to know me and they want to see more of me. And they said, well, you never say anything in meetings and you just sit back and just sort of, you have this blank expression and you listen. Well, one, I'm fairly new to this company and I'm fairly new to this role. So I think it's best for me to learn. And then over time, I'll start having input. Well, they said, well, we want to see that now. And then they said, well, you know, I'm so shocked that you took the feedback very well. Well, what was I supposed to do? And the funny thing is, well, let me not say the funny thing is, the sad thing is I'm the only Black person at this company. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if they were expecting me to go upside down or react in an angry way or whatever. I just said, okay, well, if you want to really get to know me, and I'm not an angry Black woman by any means, but if you're wanting more assertiveness and aggressiveness, then that's what you're going to get, but you're not going to like it.
So, exactly. It's like, so what I'm hearing is that the challenge for us in terms, it is this automatic stereotype that we're angry, that we're sort of, we always have to kind of, you know, speak with a high voice and be very, you know, code switch and all of that. And that's understandable because that they're used to that particular culture. But for us, we are very type A in general. Black women get it done. And we know that if there's a challenge and there's something going on, give it to a Black woman. She will handle it. Okay. So we can look, can we all toast to that? Can we all drink to that? Okay. So I feel like there is something to be said about, you know, I've heard that too. You're not being assertive. And then when you start stepping out there and pushing, you know, the limits, then it's like, it's too much for them. And so, you know, I don't know how we can really combat that or even, you know, say, how to really stand up to that. But I feel like, to Tiffany's point, Kamala has really, through this historic election, shown that you can be assertive, you can be talented, you can be gifted, and know that, and you can still rise to these highest heights. And to be honest with you, it's not lost on me how, you know, significant this is and how historic it is that she was elected. But to be quite honest with you, it felt very normal for me. It felt like something that, oh, that should happen. It's not something that was just like out of the blue for me. I felt like this is cool. Y'all think it's so historic and so, but this is what it should have been anyway. This is what we should have had a woman anyway. And a woman of her caliber, her knowledge, her expertise, and all of that, because, you know, we have to work 3 times as hard already to get where we're trying to go anyway. So we're overqualified when we get there. And I just remember growing up thinking to myself, my family always, my mom said, you know, you can do anything a boy can do. I never thought there was something like, because I was a girl, that I couldn't do something. And I think the girls that are now coming up are going to see Kamala and be like, this is normal. This is what it's supposed to be. Like, they don't have to worry about thinking about, can I do this because I'm a girl, you know? And so, yeah, I got to toast it up to that.
What's the meme that's floating around now that says normalize like luxury, normalize therapy, normalize?
Yeah, like we're not deserving.
Yeah, normalize being Black, normalize being, you know, just living, normalize it all. Because you're right, to us that was like a normal thing. Like, oh great, you know, she won, but this should have happened.
Yeah,
it's not something new for us.
Tiffany,
and to
I'm sorry,
Kamala. And to quote Kamala, she said, "While I am the first, I will not be the last."
That's right. Did you want to say something, Tiffany?
I did. So I started, look, y'all, I love when we get together, and I'm going to pick two things, and I'm not going to take up all the time, but of course with Joy in this like normalized luxury, right? Like luxury does not have to be the simple fact of like, oh, I can purchase this expensive item, right? So luxury is time. Like luxury is being able to say, I won't sacrifice my time to do something that I don't want to do, simply for the sake of being liked or looked upon favorably. And so sometimes it's just the luxury of having my time to myself to do the things that bring me excitement and joy. But then also with this whole idea of, I shouldn't have to be the first, but if we're going to count me as the first, I'm going to make sure I'm not the last. And I think so much of, and I hate to say like boss and manager, but my boss at work, I love her. Like I could work for her forever, right? And something that she does that I realize is a game changer is that we're in meetings. We don't leave a meeting without her saying, who haven't we heard from? Or what are we missing here? And I think that opens the door so often. And so I think what I love about our team is that there's no, like we have an all-woman team, first of all. I've never worked on an all-woman team that has been so collaborative and so like, no, you take the lead. And it's not that there's anything other than that she set the pace of, we will always ask, who have we not heard from? We will always include everyone that we can. And so I'll catch myself in a meeting and I'll say, I'm talking too much. And I'll pass it off to my colleague and say, what am I missing? Like, tell me, like, don't let me talk just about this. You tell me from your perspective what you're thinking. And I think what happens in that space is that it shows another woman that you trust her and that she can trust you. And at the end of the day, we're going to get to this finish line together. It doesn't matter if I get there, if I left all these bodies on the field, right? So my goal is that at the end of the day, you will feel respected. You will feel like you were valued, and then we'll be able to do something great together. And I think we just have to change the way that we approach things. And it's okay if we haven't always been this way. Like we can wake up tomorrow and decide that's the way we want to go moving forward.
And, you know, you just debunked another myth that, you know, Black women are catty. We can't work well together. You know, that whole thing. And I've heard, and I hate to say this, there are some women that I have had a hard time working for and that were Black. But at the same time, when you get the right one with a certain level of maturity and leadership skills, because everybody that's in leadership is not a leader. Let's get that clear. Let's make that perfectly clear. So I think you have to really understand it, and not to say that they don't have some great qualities about them that lend themselves to the position. They may be knowledgeable or skillful, or they worked hard to get to where they are. But at the end of the day, there's a difference between someone who just knows how to do their job and someone that is a leader that knows how to bring out the best in everybody that they work with. And so I think that all of us have those abilities, and we're kind of saddled or burdened by this stereotype that's not the case. And so the next one that I wanted to talk about, next thing I want to ask you is, you know, what are some of the lessons that you've learned from women around you that have held you up, and what kind of advice would you give to someone coming behind you? Start with, let me see. I'll start with Tiffany.
How did I know you were gonna start with me?
Because you always have the answer. You always ready.
But you know what the easiest thing is? Ask for what you want, ladies. Ask for what you're worth, and don't take anything less. Like, you know, everyone on here knows, like, I took a chance. I did one of those eat, pray, loves. I didn't always know what that was gonna come out to, right? Like, I took a chance. I quit a job that no longer served me with what I had in my savings that I had, and that account was strictly money of, I don't want to work here anymore and I can't do this anymore. And so this needs to be my out. But I didn't know what that was going to get me next. All I knew is that I deserved better. And so there were very specific things that I wanted. There was a particular salary that I wanted. There was a particular level of autonomy in my role that I wanted. I found, and I've come very comfortable with the fact that I'm more of a visionary kind of thinker. Like, I may think way big, and I'd love somebody that kind of says, like, all right, let's bring that down to what the budget can manage. But I like to be able to think that way. And so what I wanted was a role that let me do that. I also wanted a life that let me do that. And so even how I created the life that I wanted was based on what I knew that I would not compromise on, even if others thought that I was getting a little big for my britches, or if others thought like I was crazy for going after it. Worst case scenario, you know, you shoot for the, what is it? You shoot for the stars, and if you land, or you shoot for the moon and you land on the stars,
that's it.
Whatever it is, I didn't land without anything. I still landed with still everything that I wanted. And I said, you know what? It was worth the risk.
Mm-hmm. Who else? Sonia?
Tiffany, we're gonna talk offline because you speaking what I'm going through right now, so we'll talk. But one thing that I have to truly say is kind of speaking to what you kind of said before. Basically making sure that at the end of the day that I understand my happiness and I'm not compromising that happiness. And I know in the past I've been that person staying up 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, like for real, having to be at work at 6:30. That person who put relationships on hold because I had projects and stuff to do. I'm that person who would stay when it's dark and get there when it's dark. But at the end of the day, I'm not happy. And so my thing is just, somebody said, what's important? At the end of the day, what's going to happen? If you die today, your job will be posted before they even put you in the ground. And that's true. I've seen it. So I had to really reflect a lot, especially now, about that. So at the end of the day, what's going to make you happy? Are you serving your purpose? Do you want to be a job posting tomorrow? And that's where I'm at right now. So, and I've heard that from a lot of different women. So that's basically my thing.
What about you, Tanisha? What's your advice?
Work-life balance. I stopped taking the job home with me. And Sonia, who's an educator like me, you take those kids home with you. You take your fellow faculty and staff members home with you. You take that entire school building home with you. And in my new position, when I shut down my office, is what it is. The whole damn building can blow up, and I deal with it in the morning. Because what can I do about it? I'm not a fireman. I'm not even the CEO or head of development or anything. I can only do my role as a corporate trainer. So unless there's something for me to do in that moment, I'll deal with you in the morning. Plain and simple. So that has been the one change that I appreciate. And I appreciate so many of them, but that's been one I definitely hold to, because that was something I didn't have prior to, because teachers work on the weekends, we work evenings, and we're counselor, prayer warrior, mom, dad, pastor, everything to children and to each other. And I was like, you know what? I'm losing hair and I'm losing my life over this. I'm not about to do this anymore. I I realized that it was my call to be an educator, but I can educate in so many different ways. And now I can educate with shutting it off at some days 5, some days 6, and I'm good.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Miss Joy?
Like Tiffany, ask for what you know your worth. Be kind to others, and just keep moving, because things are going to happen that you don't have control of, and you have to realize what you can control and what you cannot control. Mm-hmm. So realize that, be kind, and know your worth.
And for me, I will say this is a lesson I learned about early 20s. I was working at the U.S. Olympic Committee in Colorado, and I remember I was sitting at lunch with this I saw this lady sitting by herself, and I'm not one to dine alone. So I went over and started talking to her, Black lady, and we just started chatting. She was there to teach some phone skills or etiquette skills or something like that. Like that was her business. And so we started talking, and she said something to me that was so profound that I never forgot. And she said, your reputation is everything. Guard it with your life. And when you go out into this world, your name and your word and your reputation is all you have. And that helped me not only with my career, but on a personal level, when I was being attacked on jobs by people, making making up rumors or whatever the case may be, I had to fight and protect my reputation. And I had no problem at 25, 26 years old, pulling a grown 40-something-year-old woman in my office and letting her know I don't play about my professional integrity and I do not play about my reputation. So those are the things that you have to protect. And then something that you said, Joy, don't worry about things that you can't control. If it's not putting $1 in your pocket or taking $1 out of your pocket, don't even worry about it. So it's just so much in the workplace when you think about your goals and where you're trying to go. These people are so minuscule in that respect. So as I move into the next phase, on this show, we have to talk about a roadblock. So everybody has to share with me a roadblock that you have had to overcome and how you overcame it. So I don't know who to start with first. Raise your hand. Let me know. You know who I want to start with? I want to start with Tiffany.
All right, I'll start. So I'll be honest. Sometimes I'm my biggest roadblock, right? I feel victim to the idea that growing up in Memphis, the child of 2 parents who grew up in housing projects, not having any kind of generational wealth, that I didn't really have a chance at this, right? Like I felt like everything I was doing was a Hail Mary. And so there would be days that I would talk myself out of things without trying it. And I just had to wake up one day and say, like, no. Like I remember making this list. I think I was maybe like 23, 24. And it was a list of things I wanted to do by 30. Now I had more than enough time to do most of these things, right? Because it was little stuff like get a passport, do this, do that, learn another language, like all this small stuff that you could easily manage. I abandoned that list within like 3 weeks. Like I was like, this is too much, Lord. It's too much. How am I going to do this?
First of all, who learned another? What is this small stuff? This is not small stuff, ma'am.
That's big stuff. But some grown adults don't have passports, okay?
Yeah, but like when I thought about it, I was just like, and the reason why I say small is because like once what I love about some of my growing experiences is that like in the 7th grade, I was in an honors English class. We had to learn German, Spanish, French, and Latin. So it's like, you know them, boo. You just need to refresh yourself on them. But I couldn't get my head around me being able to do that and what that meant, right? And so I abandoned that list and I ran across that notebook randomly when I was like 29. And I had about like 6 months to get my life right and do all those things on the list. And I did. And sometimes it was small things like getting a passport. I mean, how many times have you thrown away $100, right? I thought about the number of passports I could have had. So I got a passport, but I really had to say to myself, nobody's going to do this for you. You're going to have to do it yourself. And just because it's hard or just because you don't necessarily know how today doesn't mean you can't figure it out. And so really the roadblock is sometimes tapping myself on the shoulder. Could you get out of the way, ma'am, so we can do this? And it happens all the time. Like, even if there's a task that seems like it's just overwhelming, I'm like, we just got to buckle down. We'll give it an hour. If we can't do it in an hour, figure out realistically how long it takes. But really, it's just that. And I find so many other people have that same feeling, that the roadblock really is their thoughts, is what they believe is achievable. And again, what I've heard over and over again is that, you know, God is not done with you. Like, if you're still here, you still got something to do, right? So I'm like, all right, I can't open my eyes. I guess I need to go after this list. And so often we just psych ourselves out when it's really just taking that one step or whatever that list is, saying, all right, today I'm going to mark something off that list, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Joy, what about you?
So I'm jumping on the bandwagon with Tiffany and saying that it's me. But mine was not knowing my worth and not feeling like I was good enough to get what I wanted, have what I wanted, or whatever. But if I stop and think, Joy, you've been the first to go to a 4-year university and graduate with a master's or a bachelor's and you get your master's. You've been the first to move away from your hometown. You've been the first to make as much money as you've made. You've been like, you're the first. And just understanding, knowing, believing, and honoring who I am in all of it. And soaking that up to say, this is me. And you get all of me. Because a lot of times we don't sit in that and acknowledge who we are and just say, you know what, I've done a lot and this is who I am. Let me pat myself on the back and get over these hurdles that I keep putting in my own way because I don't feel like I'm good enough.
Okay.
So yeah, that I will say that it's me. So I'm with Tiffany when like you are your own roadblock.
Okay. Thank y'all for that. Tanisha, what about you?
Okay, so you know, like lately I've become the queen of posting crazy nonsense. But when I look back over like the last year and a half, and it's like this particular segment, I had to go back to my IG because this brings talking about the roadblock and how we are our own roadblock. I posted this last year, July, actually, and I want to say it was after a Bible study, maybe, or something I was listening to. But I would say this, and I summed it up to say, mistakes will happen. Forgive yourself. Faith is bigger than fear. Get over yourself. You can always start over. Get on with yourself. And so I just basically summed it up to say, forgive yourself. Get over yourself, get on with yourself. And but it took to 41 in 3 weeks to get to this point. None of us here just we woke up and it was like, I woke up like this. No, we had to go through life as a 20-year-old, as a 30-year-old. And you know, all of us lived our 30s together. So we all know each other's story. But at now 40, I don't give a damn. And I'm happy with that. So whatever happens. And it's going to be better. So I just say, forgive yourself, get over yourself, and get on with yourself. The best is yet to come.
I love that. I love that. So this is what I'm waiting on right here, Dr. Sonia.
And I just had 2 different roadblocks to come through my mind, so I don't even know. Well, I know I was kind of talking to Keisha about this last week. About a year ago today, I was in a very, very dark place. I let a lot of people who I thought were my friends, people I thought I was good with, new people. I'm not going to get too deep into that because I don't know who'll be listening to this podcast. New people. come into my space and say things that were very hurtful to me. And even people dating situation, a person I had dated for 6 years, around that, all that had been going on. And it was it felt like a season of rejection, and put me in a very, very, very dark space. I'm not going to get that deep with it, but I was very dark. And I had to remind myself of who I was and who I am. And I don't want to get emotional because I did my makeup, but I had to remind myself who I am. And even now, I start feeling like I was going to go back to the dark space, but I'm like, no, because I have to have faith. I've asked not to be, religious or anything, but I've asked God for certain things, and I know He can do it. Keisha, when you were talking about your podcast last week, I thought about it. Those who don't know me, they know I have some different health things going on. But for 3 weeks, I was blind. I was blind for 3 weeks. And every day I woke up and said, today the day is that I'm going to see. Today is the day I'm going to see. And every day I woke up, I could not see, but I still had faith that God was going to restore my eyesight. So if I had faith for 3 weeks straight that I was going to see again, there's nothing else that God can't do for me. So I have to remind myself that, this is who and I had to bring that to myself, but basically forget what people say about you, because things are set in place to bring you down. And if I would have done the things that I thought I was going to do then, I wouldn't be here now. So just have to remind myself, God can bring you through no matter how long it takes. There's always that day you have to wake up saying something. So that's my roadblock.
To the dark place. Sonia, here's your sister circle here. And none of us knew this. Mm-hmm. And this, in the point of our sister circle, this is a safe space. We could have helped you through that.
If we would have been over there cooking and cleaning, you better let them know. I was just flipping your edges down, because you can't see, we can't see you being cute.
My edges done. I gotta help. I gotta do some other things. But yeah, okay.
So that's why, and I think that's why this sister circle is so important. We need each other in all aspects possible. We, especially in this pandemic, but even before this pandemic, like I said, all of us lived our 30s together. We all know each other's stories, and we all know what we were going through, and we all got each other through it. That was no different.
Yeah. So, but Tanisha, and to Sonia, I mean, it really is a testament to your strength, but you don't have to be strong all the time. You don't have, that's the thing, that strong Black woman thing. We start, I know I went through depression. I've gone through anxiety. I've gone through that stuff, and I felt mentally weak because of it. But the reason we get to that point is because we've been strong for so long to where we can't bear that weight anymore. And it's okay to not have to continue to carry that weight. And that, like I said, that, like Tanisha said, that is what all of us are here for. And I think we all have to step outside of ourselves too and say, you know what, let me check on Sonia. Let me check on Joy. Let me check on Tiffany, because I've learned that when someone comes into my mind, I call them immediately. And I'm just like, let me call this person, because they're on my mind and my heart. And typically when that is the case, something is wrong. My intuition is just that strong. Like, I can pick up when I saw a friend of mine. I said, I feel like your wife pregnant. Oh, she is. I said, I know. It's that kind of stuff, because I have I don't know what this sixth sense is. I'm not psychic or anything, but I just have this intuition that I pick up on people's energies and their spirits. And I know when something is not right. And that's why I don't like texting. I need to hear your voice, because I can pick up the tone in your voice that something's not right. So, again, Sonia, you do not have to do this alone. Whatever you need, pick up the phone and ask. We're bad about asking for help too, And so, yes, we can have our families and our support systems and all of that. But when you have the strength of sisters around you that can just, pick up the slack when, you need it. Y'all were invaluable to me when my dad died. Coming to the wake, being there, call, do you need me to help you with something? Do you need this or that? I mean, it was just, and I didn't even know how to accept the help, because I'm so used to doing everything on my own. And I had to just stop and say, yes, please do. Please, can you do this? Please, can you help with that? And so then when I lost my dog, y'all was right there, took me out to eat, gave me some gifts. I'm like, ah. So, you know, it really lifted my spirits and kept me going, because just to know that people care about you enough to say, you know what, we see you hurting, we see you going through something. And so we're definitely here for you no matter what. I feel like you don't get me choked up.
Yeah.
I want to pause and say, I love you, Keisha. I love you, Tiffany. I love you, Tanisha. I love you, Sonia. And we are all here to help pick up the pieces. Okay.
Yes, we love you too. We love you too.
I love Sonia and I love Keisha. And when I say, speaking to piggyback off of Keisha, you know, when I lost my father in November 2017, every single person in my sister circle hosted a birthday party for me every weekend in the month of December. And my mom was like, Jesus, this girl going from one birthday venue to the next. I said, my girls, from the first weekend of December to New Year's Eve, I had a different event going on. But when I tell you, to speak to what Keisha said, y'all picked me up off the ground. And literally, I had to figure it out and just go on. I mean, and on top of losing my father, I had a crazy ass relationship, but just y'all, I mean, literally, y'all host. I had a birthday party every single weekend. When I look back at those, I was like, every single weekend in December of that year, I had a birthday party. So that's what we are here for. And this is real, it's raw. This is what it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. And just know that when we are, you know, we could be out here dressed up, looking good and all that and cute and all that, and be going through the most mess. Yes, broke down. Okay. So I tell people all the time, I'm so glad that I don't look like what I've been through. I'm so glad.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So yeah, we could go on and on and on about this topic.
What's your next question?
So we're gonna move to the next segment, and this is like the part that I really want to talk about with you all, and that is, you know, with us being women of a certain age, as they say, and you know, how are we looked at in society as women that don't have children at our age? So first of all, let's get your thoughts on that. Like, how do you feel people are looking at Black women, educated, you know, we've got our stuff together, but we're not married, we don't have kids. What is the number one thing you think? Let me take that back. Let me go back. What's the worst question you've heard from somebody about your singleness?
What's wrong with you?
But the kids say what you said. Thank you.
Girl.
Hey, what you said.
What's wrong with you? Ain't nothing wrong with me. Nothing.
And I'm sorry for touching on your podcast, Keisha, but not a damn thing is wrong with me.
But here's the thing, and this is what I feel like, because we are educated and strong women or whatever, we're not gonna just let Joe Blow from down the block just come up and talk anything, and we'd be like, oh, okay, great, let's get married. Mm-hmm. No, you also just the same way you asked me what am I bringing to the table. What are you bringing to the table? Because, and I'm not asking for like, you got to have your house and you got to have this and you got to have that, but have a plan, have something on some paper to say, this is what I'm trying to do with my life. Because what do I have? You know,
I need receipts. I need to see that you did something with your life. Like,
have something. Don't come just like, well, this me. Yeah. What's up? I want kids. Let's do this thing. Like, no, this ain't. Yeah. This is not how this is gonna work.
Anybody else had a different question?
Kind of piggyback on what Joy said. They asked like, are you crazy? What's the problem? Like, you're not ugly, so what's the deal? You know, so it kind of piggybacks on that. So you're saying other people can't get, I mean, I don't, yeah.
They get it first. There's somebody for everybody.
Exactly.
I think sometimes sometimes people don't understand that you also may have other things in your family that you're managing, right? So with me having aging grandparents, something that I have to consider is, how would I manage aging? Like, I have one of my grandmothers is a widow. Mm-hmm. So how do I help her have a great quality of life in her 80s and try to raise children at the same time, right? Like, I would never have considered that in my 20s. But now that's very present for me, and I'm doing it in a pandemic. And so it's like, I'm keeping myself healthy, and I'm thinking about my entire family who are all essential workers who also have some kind of ailment that could be, you know, detrimental for them should they get COVID. But those aren't the things that people really consider, that you have other things that may be a priority for you beyond being in a relationship or being a parent. And I think that that's something that we have to give one another grace for, is that we all may have something different that we're carrying that they may not openly discuss, or that you may not be able to see from your perspective.
Mm-hmm. Tanisha, did you have thoughts?
Well, and I was looking for my meme, because you, like I said, posting crazy nonsense. But it was one meme that says, who does she think she is with all this education? She's single. She don't have any kids. She can do whatever she want to do. She can hop a flight, whatever she want to go. Basically, she can live that life. And the response was, it was Bugs Bunny sitting, or Babs Bunny sitting with a crown on her head. And it said, well, I got to clean it up. I'm that girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that wasn't what Babs said.
Right. Okay. Now I will tell you the question that I got when, you know, they'll ask you, do you have kids? And I say no. What's wrong with you? And it's like, oh, why don't you have kids? Okay, that's the worst question you can ask a woman. You don't know if she's had a miscarriage. You don't know if she's lost a child. You don't know what that person has gone through. Like, why would you ask someone that? And I totally feel for women who have lost children, who have had miscarriages, and that is really challenging. And so when someone asks me that, I just check them point blank, because you don't know my story, you don't know what I've been through. But I will tell you, I'm not stupid enough to lay down with somebody and be tied to them for 18 years, and you know what I mean? I want to have a family, my own family, in a certain way, and I think that if that happens, great. If that doesn't happen, I think I'm okay with that too. And I'm not opposed to some other alternatives to having the family that I want. So that leads me into the next question is childless versus child-free. There is a difference. What are your thoughts on that? Who wants to jump into that? Joy. Oh. You were unmuted, so.
Okay. I will say currently I'm childless.
Yes.
If I'm understanding it right. Child-free, it means that you just don't want to have children, and that's just a choice. Childless means you just don't want them right now. Am I understanding that correctly? Okay. So right now I'm just childless. I would love to be a mother, but if that's not my lot in life, my family's already big on adoption. We have several adopted family members. I would be a foster mom and eventually adopt a child. But I do believe with all the things that I've done in life, I'm intended to be someone's mother. And I'm actually the mama to a lot of kids running around in Memphis just from, the programs that I've put on and things of that sort. So I won't say that. Well, I mean, I guess if that's the case, then I'm not childless, because I have many children running around in Memphis who call me Mama Joy currently to this day, but I have not physically birthed a baby from my body. But I would like to do that. But if that does not happen for me, then I would definitely be a foster mom.
Okay. Tanisha.
Well, the former educator here has been a mom to many. So I've gotten my mom marks off. So, and then I'm a godmother. I'm another mom. I am when my mom friends need a day out, I'm the need a kid fix mom. So my life is filled with kids. And as you all know, I transitioned into the other side of womanhood this year. And so with that, if I decide that I want to become a mom at some point in life, when I'm mature enough, I will become a boy mom and I'll adopt some sons and go at it with that. Motherhood is a broad term. Motherhood is not strictly defined to birthing a child, physically birthing a child from your body. Motherhood is a multitude of things. So, and for those that think that the only way that motherhood can be true is that they come from you physically, that's a very distorted view. And you'll be very sad if you get to that point to where, God forbid, that you can't physically have children. And I've heard a lot of women say that they feel less than, or they don't feel like a true woman. I've even heard it from my own sister, and I'm like, sweetheart, are you kidding me right now? You know, motherhood is what you make it, however it comes.
Sonia, do you have some thoughts?
Yes. And it's interesting because this conversation comes up a lot. It's in my family because my mother's side of the family all the cousins, none of us are married. Majority of the female, I only have one female cousin that has children. She was married, but we don't have children. Highly educated, like advanced in our careers, and we all want children. And recently, I had a cousin that passed, and that was her one thing, that she wanted to have children and she wanted to be married. So I do say that I am childless. My former students, I love them. I hold them dear. I have 2 god babies, but I still want to be pregnant. Some with fat ankles, somebody rubbing my stomach. That's just what I want. I'm not opposed to adoption, but y'all gonna get this baby shower one day. Just like that.
Okay.
Either way, whether it comes from adoption or natural childbirth, I'm happy to throw it either way.
Okay. All right. Tiffany, what about you?
So I'm child free, right? Like I think, and listen, now everybody that knows me knows there are gazillions of children around me. So I am not in any means saying that because you have children that you have chosen the wrong path. I absolutely love all my godchildren. I will go to the ends of the earth for them. But I think for me, I never had the desire to have children, right? And I spent so much of my 20s struggling with that. Like I did not connect with some of my friends in my 20s simply because I wasn't like, gotta get married so I can start having these kids and then get a house and then a luxury car and then we'll do this. I wasn't thinking like that. And it wasn't until I got real with myself, like in my 30s, to say like, I think it's okay if you've never had that desire, right? And you can just voice it. And so trying to make myself fit in that box in my 20s to try to get excited about possibly having swollen ankles, or I was just like, I just don't desire that. And it's totally fine. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't want children in my life. Like I have gobs of children from when I worked at the Boys and Girls Club. I was a youth leader for a considerable amount of time. And so I'm pretty sure Angela's going to watch this because Angela is the one person that still claims me as mom. She sends me every Mother's Day a happy Mother's Day text. When she has any life-changing event, she lets me know. And she claimed me when she was like 8 at the Boys and Girls Club. She was like, "You're my mama." And I was like, "Are you sure?" Because I don't know what I'm doing. But I have loved being there for every phase. Like if she's got a graduation, if I'm in town, I'm going. I'm going to make whatever adjustments I need to for that. And I appreciate that her family allowed me to step in and be that extra adult that they didn't necessarily ask to have in their family. But they call me, like her grandmother has had my phone number for years. I haven't changed my phone number since I was 21 because of the fact she's always had it, right? And I don't plan on changing it. Even though it does look like a spam number, I'm not changing it. So, but I just think for me, I just don't have that desire. But one day I may choose to adopt. I have so many friends whose parents come from adoption. And so that's always been important for them to discuss. And I think that there'll be a time when I want to have that lifestyle where I'm baking cookies and I'm trying to go to the PTA. That may happen one day, but probably not by childbirth. It may happen strictly by adoption or foster. And I'm totally okay with that as well.
Yeah, I think to everyone's point, we're all mothers in some way. We mother the community. We are out here with, I have several godchildren, people that, I want to be a part of these children's lives. Like, I feel like I have something to offer, whether they're mine or not. I want kids to be able to feel safe to come to me if something's going on. Like, if I see a kid in my neighborhood, he can come to me and say, this is happening, and I will stand up for him just like his mother would. So, I'm definitely here for adoption. I'm definitely here for, the natural way as well. If that's something that God wants for me, but I am very much okay with my life as it is. I mean, there's some benefits to it. And then there's sometimes where I'm like, man, I would love to pour in into a little mini me, it would be fun. But it is challenging from a financial perspective. I think, marriage rates are falling. So like we just talked about dating earlier. So that, the challenge of finding the right person if you want to start a family of your own. I think generational trauma, sometimes people don't want to bring a baby into the world, because of the generational trauma that they've experienced or the trauma of the world, period. Like, do I want to bring a child into this and be worried about the racism that exists in our society and having to bring up a Black child in this world? Tiffany, you had something you want to say?
Yes. So I think that is so important, right? Like, I cannot ignore the fact that a majority of my family has been raised in poverty. And so in being raised in poverty, there are skills that you may lack. Communication skills, understanding. Like, now we got these books. What are your love language? Somebody asks me that every first date. What's your love language? My parents had never considered a love language when they started dating, right? And when they started raising children, they didn't think about how they apologize. They didn't think about any of those things because the goal was to get this human from the womb to a job and off into their own home. Like, that is what it is. And I think we sometimes don't get that there's a lot of that in the middle. Like, do you have the supports? I think so often of my friends, and they are trying to figure out what's the best way to raise our child. What kind of values do we want them to be raised in? When we think about girls, like me being an athlete, I know Keisha, with you being an athlete, but what sports do we direct girls into? Do we direct them towards cheerleading and being a majorette, or do we direct them towards something else? And I think about the young ladies that are in our local rugby group. I think about some of my godchildren and my goddaughters that are in more what would have been a more masculine kind of like centered sport. Like, I have one goddaughter that was playing football. So I love being in Florida at her football game, being full on auntie, like, yes, that's mine out there on the field. But I think that there's so many things that come into play when you decide that you're going to bring a child into this world. Maybe consider in advance, not just once a child gets here, like, we'll figure it out when they land. No, like, what are our values as a family? What are the things we're going to celebrate? What are we going to talk about in this household? Like, I grew up not talking about politics, not talking about a lot of things. And that really changed how I even had my friendships as adults. So I think that childhood is more than that, right? Like, we just have to remember as we move forward that bringing a child into this world, you're bringing forth the next person into society who's going to impact so many more people. And are you putting out what you would be proud of?
Yeah. And I think that's something that's a bigger issue in our community is exposure. And when it comes to, when you talk about poverty, you're not going to be exposed to certain things. So I am all for exposing children to as much as you possibly can, but because of financial limitations, I couldn't take piano lessons when I was a kid. My mom wanted me to take them, but we couldn't afford it. But I could play basketball. I could play volleyball. I could play these other sports that are traditionally, I guess, Black people are, kind of pushed towards because they're easier to do, like to get into basketball, to get into all these different things. So I think exposure is going to be really key. Like, you see this painting behind me? Hold on, over here. Like, I didn't know I could paint. Had I been exposed to that as a kid, I would be like, duh, okay, I can paint. I can play piano, which I did take lessons as an adult. I mean, there's things that we really have to, as a community, start thinking about broadening our horizons and exposing our children to as much as possible. But unfortunately, financial limitations are there. So whatever you can expose your children to, I say expose them. Next question is, what about maintaining relationships with friends that have kids? Because as you can see, our circle we're all very, we have that in common, that we don't have kids. So talk about maintaining the relationships with friends that do have kids and do have, their husbands and families and all that.
I can start. It's oddly enough, only have one close friend. Well, two close friends that have children, but one that has little children. That's my best friend that has my god kids. But other than that, we just spoil them. We've been there for her because she recently lost her ex-husband due to murder. So we've been there trying to help the kids through that process. But other than that, I just being single together, I guess. I hate to say it like that, but yeah.
I want to say for me, it's been different. I know that I've had some really, really good friends, and we've done everything together while they were single. But once they got married and ventured into being parents and things like that, of course, it does change the dynamic of your friendship. It doesn't mean that they love you any less or you love them any less, but you have to, kind of let them go in a sense, to let them build their relationship with their spouse and to be a parent. So the friendship just takes another road, and it's not the same as it was before. But I mean, as we get older, that's just life in general. So it doesn't make, that big of a deal.
Yeah. Tiffany?
I agree with Joy on that. Your friendship can take another road, right? So, sorry, I'm going to stop saying right because I realize I said that a lot today.
It's okay.
But I'm like, get on board with me, y'all. Let me know y'all here. I'm just kidding. But, so when I think about, I do remember when I had a lot of friends get married in their 20s, what I noticed is they would say, now that I'm getting married, we can't be friends. And I thought that was so odd, but it was what we've been taught, that you cannot be a married woman and have this sanctity of a marriage and still hang out with your single friends. So then that brings me to the point of, if you have that thought, what kind of single friends were you keeping with you anyway? What kind of person were you? Now, granted, in our 20s, everybody was a hot mess express. So we don't even talk about your 20s, right? But you don't have to stop. I think to myself, and I feel very blessed that, and I just sent a message earlier this week, I've had the same text thread since 2012, since I had an iPhone, and we had Blackberries together. And I remember being like, all right, when you get your iPhone, because I got to switch this text message situation over. But we literally have been in each other's lives since I was like in the 2nd grade. And so when you think about that, so I say my best friend has a best friend. So when we were younger, it was my best friend and her older sister. And then when we got into high school, she got other friends. And I was able to have the blessing of an additional, like a bonus best friend. And I love that they can talk about their children in the text thread. I tell them about these crazy furries running around my house. I tell them what it's like for me at work. And we all encourage each other. It's loving. And I wish I could say that it was like that for everyone, because I do think that some ladies are just told, like, you cannot have those friends. And I don't know if it also comes from their spouse that feels the same way, like they have some concerns. And I feel like if you know me as your friend, you should be able to tell your spouse how you could attest to my character, right? Like my best friend, when I go to Florida, her husband may have to pick me up from the airport. or she may have a day where she's in meetings. And so he's like, I'm your chauffeur for the day. What do you want to do? And we can hang out all day. And then I could be like, you know, and I'm going to say their name, but I'm be like, me and PJ, we was riding around and getting it today. Like we was running errands. We picked the kids up. We did this. But I love that I can have that relationship with him. I love that when we have tragedies that happen, he'll reach out to me and say, hey, could you call her? Just make sure she's okay. I think there may be things that she'll probably open up to you about that she won't open up to me about. And I think that that's great. Like his number is in my phone, just like her number's in my phone. And if they were to call tomorrow and say, we need you to come here, I'm at southwest.com trying to figure out, like, how do I get on this flight? And so I think you can still maintain those relationships, but you have to be open to it and know that just as you are evolving, your single friend or your I don't want to say childless friend, your friend minus a child, is also evolving, and it's okay. Like we're gonna get through this together. And I think sometimes we don't think about that. We're just thinking about removing people from our lives when really you can maintain so many of these quality relationships because there's nothing wrong with them.
Mm-hmm. Tanisha, did you want to weigh in?
Well, I had one of my very best friends. She was actually my freshman year roommate. And I'm not going to use the term cut me off, but we grew distant.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I mean, people grow apart. It happens, you know. Go ahead.
And it was and when I look at her life versus mine, okay, yes, I am child-free and single, which is the total opposite of her. But I guess in my mind, I don't see how that would make or break a friendship, but it does. And to piggyback off of Tiffany, there, you know, it could be a traditional thing that, you know, once you get married and you have kids, you can't have single friends. But I will also say that I dated a guy who frowned upon me having, like, hanging out with single friends. Like that was just, I mean, it was just the biggest debate with him in terms of hanging out with single friends. And it's like, well, I'm not married to you, so we're dating. But his thought process is, you still want to do single things when you're with your single friends. And it's like, well, no, not really. I do the same thing with you that I do with them. But, you know, so I get it. And I think, I'm not going to say that's made me leery towards marriage, but I realize how much changes when marriage comes into the fold.
Well, you know, it is a different thing, but I love getting the perspectives of everybody here, because not just because we're all of the same group or the same, we have this in common, doesn't mean that, you know, I was talking to a friend of mine today and he was like, you know, how can you have a conversation? All of y'all have the same thing in common. There'll be some groupthink. I said, you don't know my friends. Like we all come from a different perspective in of this commonality. So, you know, I'd let things take their course. You know, I have friends that, you know, I was there when their babies were born and didn't hear from them again till the baby was 18. And I'm like, I don't know your baby. I don't know your child. You know, like now you want a graduation gift. But, you know, I say all that to say, I'm here for it though. I'm here for my friends that, you know, want me to be a part of their lives as well as their children's lives, because that is a part of growth for everybody. You know, you're growing into, and then my friend, he talked about independence versus interdependence, and that interdependence with children is a certain level of maturity. I'm like, that doesn't mean that because these people have a different level of maturity that we don't have, you know, our own level of maturity. It's not selfish. It's not, you know, I don't feel that we're being selfish if we decide not to have children, or we haven't had children yet because we've, taken time to work on our careers and work on ourselves. I mean, I want to bring a child into a situation that not only I can financially sustain and not be struggling, but also be in a place mentally and emotionally to be able to not totally damage that child. Like, I don't want to traumatize my baby. I want to give them as much of a healthy start as I can and not pass on my own hangups to my child or my own fears or generational traumas or what have you. So, if that time comes, great. If it doesn't, that's great too. But ladies, we're getting towards the end of our chat. And before we wrap up, I want you all to have an opportunity to plug anything that you have going on, that you're doing. I celebrate my friends. I put y'all on whatever it is that you're doing. I love to see you shine. So if there's anything you want to share at this time, please do.
I'm going to go first. So I'm going to do a shameless plug for myself and my sister. So I'm an author, as I said before. So I want to plug my book, The Ride of Pride. You can go on the website, The Ride of Pride 1. It's a children's book. Also, adults can read as well about African-American inventions. And my sister, during the pandemic, just released her book, Manifested Dreams. It's also can be purchased on rideofpride1.com, Amazon, Barnes & Noble for both books. Please check it out. This is telling a tale about a family who's been through slavery up to the Obama inauguration and the different things they've endured, like the Bloody Monday, Tulsa incident, etc. So please get our book. So, all right.
Yes. Anybody?
Come on, authoress, Dr. Sonia, Dr. Sonia. Come on.
Yes, authoress roundtable coming soon.
Yes, honey.
All together.
Oh, she gonna be on the podcast for Black History Month. Don't even get it twisted. Like
I told you, yes, I am Black. Yes.
I would like to plug What's the Tea? It is here to teach, empower, and activate you to ascend to higher heights in every area of your life. We just started in this 2020 here to get you to talk about goals and things to activate in your life. And we're going to be talking to some of those women in the community who have done those things, who have the careers and have done their CEOs and executives and all of that. So, yeah. So check out What's the Tea on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay. All right, Tiff.
I don't have anything tangible to plug, but what I do love, and y'all know, when it comes down to like business development and strategy, I absolutely love that. And so this pandemic has made it amazing. So many women and friends of mine have really tried to dig into like how to take their side hustles to the next level and how to really grow some things. And so while I do keep a general like low profile on social media, look, slide in Keisha's DMs if you want me to work with you on that. And we can do that because I love it. I just have a passion for it. I'm just trying to make sure that I do the job that they pay me for at my main organization. But I do a little bit of time to work on that. I have a couple of clients, but would love to get some more.
Awesome. Well, ladies, I love each of you so much. Joy, who is our warrior woman. Tiffany, I call you the life hack queen. You are absolutely the life hack queen. Like, she always got the most random information that just helps your life. It's like, but just like I can call you for anything and you have like, oh, you know what? If you try that, it's an app, it's something. And Tanisha, you are the bubble, the effervescence in our champagne. Like you like to do these little bubbles and just give us life and fun and energy. And Sonia.
And I would like to interject that girl hike. Join me in 2021. I have a couple of hikes planned.
Okay.
Tennessee, Arkansas, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi. All hiking is life. And when I say once you enter the trail, you feel a total 360 once you're in the trail. So definitely join me in 2021.
Okay, I'm sorry. I forgot to let you get your plug in. I'm so sorry. Yes, hiking, and that's something that you don't hear about a lot of Black women doing. So I would love to get on the trail and see what's going on. And
join the movement.
Okay. And like Dr. Sonia, last but not least, you to me are the glue that keeps the circle going around and around and around. Like you are there for everybody, for everything. And I just love and appreciate you. And, you know, I had you crying last week because I was crying too. I was like, this girl, you just don't know what you mean to me. So thank you so much for just being you and being so supportive of everybody in the circle, and know that we love you and we're here. We keep you lifted in prayer, and you're just amazing. How you gonna be a doctor and write books and do all this stuff, and you over here feeling some kind of way? No, that's not happening. No, that's not happening anymore.
You're too mighty, ma'am. Too mighty.
Yes. So, ladies, I thank you so much for being a part of my season finale. We have made it through the season, y'all. Oh my God. Yo. You know, this has been a great season. I've had some amazing guests on the show. I'm so proud of myself for stepping out on faith and just taking a chance and doing this, not knowing what to expect, but I did my homework. I made sure I was ready for this opportunity. And so next season will be even bigger and better. I may drop a few bonus episodes, keep y'all busy over the holidays and whatnot, but I'll be back in, I don't even know when, January or February sometime with some new episodes for season 2. But again, if you want to keep in touch, always follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at SOAR Lifecast. You can connect with these ladies on Instagram. They have their handles up. And anytime you need a sister circle, we will be there. Because I do want to build out this community, because it is needed. And I wanted to just bring my friends on to share with you that sisterhood is real. It is something that we will continue to uplift and uphold, even to, we old and gray. We might be living like the Golden Girls in a villa somewhere, So that's my dream and my hope. I would love to have me a vacation home somewhere. But But again, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching this episode. And as always, keep soaring. Bye.
Bye. Bye.